Hello, this is Ken Ferry with this week's Boots in the Field report. This week brought more rain in some areas and still no rain in the dry areas. Saw a lot of April and early May fields pollinating this week. Man, that weather was perfect for pollination. Seeing a lot of fields pollinating but the tip in 3 days. Now we'd like to see it pollinate bottom to top in 5 days. Doing it in 3 days, that's even better yet. We had fields this week that had to be sprayed for silk clipping caused by either the Japanese beetle or rootworm beetle. This week we continue to find more rootworm resistance issues, starting to be a concern. Some of these fields we're spraying for silk clipping are fully traded corn. When you have rootworm beetles thick enough to cause silk clipping issues in traded corn, you have full-blown resistance. These are homegrown beetle. They were laying there in your field. They didn't move into it from a neighboring field. Rootworm don't move much in luscious green corn. They move when the field is falling apart, and then they may migrate to a neighboring field that poses a better place for them to lay their eggs. Last year's tar spot flushed a lot of these beetles to the soybeans because they were the only green crop here in Tar Spot Alley. If you're seeing a lot of rootworm beetle in first year corn, it probably means these resistant beetle came from a nearby cornfield last year that went down to tar spot. Japanese beetle continue to be heavier in cornfields than in bean fields for some reason, especially in the drier areas. I don't understand this or don't know why this is, but silk clipping needs to be watched with these guys as well. They will move in and out of fields on a daily basis, so it's a little more of a challenge scouting them, but we can't let them clip the silks. I'm seeing some leaf damage from the red-headed flea beetle in the corn, which looks a lot like rootworm feeding on a leaf. They're the black beetle, a little red head. We're not sure just how much silk clipping they do. But when we're talking about scouting for silk clipping, we don't care what the insect is, we need at least a ½ inch of silk to get pollinated. So when you see that silk clipping, you remove the husk gently, give that ear a shake. Anything pollinated will fall off. I'll give you an idea of what's left to pollinate. Typically it's the tip in these situations, and we still got to get those pollinated, which triggers the spray. In dry areas, growers are bordering bean fields for spider mites, again hoping to get us some time to pick up a rain in between. In many areas, the corn is shorter than normal. Now this is due to 3 weeks of dry weather, high temperatures that cause the corn to roll during that rapid growth period. Now, corn maturity, which is driven by GDUs, stayed on course, and this corn is pollinating when we expected. The rolling allowed for a lot of sunlight to get down into that canopy. Sunlight stunts growth, causing corn plants to have shorter nodes between the leaves. Now, this is evident, for instance, on a headland where you tramp some corn down and you have a single stalk corn plant out there by itself in a gap on the headland, and it receives a lot of sunlight, all the sunlight it wants. This plant will be shorter than the ones out in the field. Now it may put on multiple ears, but it will be shorter. When you crowd plants with higher plant populations, sunlight doesn't get down in the canopy, and the plants are going to stretch out for sunlight, and they're going to increase that distance between nodes. The 3 weeks of rolling that we had out there led to plenty of sunlight that got down in the canopy and has shortened this corn. Now that the tassel is out, vegetative growth has stopped, so it's not getting taller. Good news is plant height doesn't have a big effect on yield, and short plants improve standability this fall. What you will notice is your lower leaves below the ear will hang on longer because they're receiving sunlight, and they'll continue photosynthesis and producing food. These short plants will want to fire a second ear, especially in your upright hybrids. These second ears very seldom produce grain. They will abort as we get into grain fill. Don't count these in your decision to spray for silk clipping. If the main ear is pollinated, don't worry about that second ear. Fields that are pollinated but continue to carry a heavier load of suspect resistant rootworm beetle, it might be worth taking them out with your fungicide application just to knock this population back. On disease front, this week one of our growers in southeast Iowa had a confirmed tar spot. We had tar spot confirmed in northeast Illinois and here in Tazewell County under irrigation. Last year was June 29th when we found it, so it's later than last year. But last year, most of our corn was pollinated by July 8th. With so much of this corn still not pollinated, in many ways, the timing of tar spot is earlier this year than it was last year. These early sightings are all cases of homegrown tar spot, so pest teams look low on the plant. The bottom leaves is where this infection will originate from. I expect more confirmed sightings next week, especially where the rains have been heavier. Today we did canopy penetration studies with the drone sprayer like we did with the airplanes. We'll show this results at our field day and our corn college event. We'll be doing live drone spraying demonstrations at both our field day and the college event, weather permitting. So you get a chance to see what that looks like. This week I saw the first field of Physoderm brown spot. The dry weather this spring will make this disease a non-issue in most places. Good riddance there. In the May corn, stand counts and ear counts are high. This crop has a lot of potential. We just need to get it pollinated here in the next 2 weeks. With corn pollinating the 3rd and 4th week in July, we got to add 60, 70, 75 days to it to reach black layer. Meaning if the rest of the growing season is stress-free, we're looking at mid to late October before we start this corn harvest. Now, stress during grain fill will shorten this up. We know that from tar spot last year. Or if we have a phenomenal September for GDUs, we can move it back as well. But as a customer base, we need to start thinking about what a mid to late October harvest start looks like in your operation. I think there'll be a lot of beans out before we get into the corn. The sign up for the Crop Tech Customer Field Day next week is big. We have a full day packed and planned. The doors will open at 7:30. The annual Round Robin Crop Report will kick off at 8 o'clock. So if you're coming to do your marketing decisions off of that, you want to be here ahead of time. This is a rain or shine event. If you haven't got registered yet, call the office and let the gals know. The crew has a campus in great shape for our 15th Farm Journal Corn Soybean College event, July 26th and 27th. It'll be a lot of material packed into the 2 days, rotating from air-conditioned classrooms to out in the field breakouts. We'll be sharpening your scouting skills. You'll be learning about what a tissue test can and can't tell you about your crop. We'll be dealing head-on with tar spot. And there'll be live drone spraying, and we'll talk about the applications. One of the breakouts will look at soybean plant characteristics and why some beans can be planted in ultra-low populations. There'll be a breakout on what you should think about or what should go into decision making when you're trying to pick the right hybrid, corn hybrid, and how you would manage it out in the field. We're going to take a deep dive into the 4 hours of sulfur. Fred Whitford from Purdue will run a breakout on doubling down on your straps and chains. Our guest speaker on the 27th, our lunch speaker, will be Romain Krynishin from the Ukraine. Romain will give us insight on what's happening in the farm community in the Ukraine right now, what the real cost of this war is to the Ukrainian farmer and the ag industry, and how your peers in the Ukraine are dealing with this crisis. He will take questions from the group so we can get anything you want to know answered. We have a diverse group registered for the Corn College already, covering 11 states in Canada. Growers are coming in from New York, Maryland to Kansas, from Michigan to Kentucky. It's always cool to see the farmers from all over the U.S. get together and share their experiences and ways of doing some of the same things, but in different ways. I believe as much is learned in the growers sharing their experiences at the meals and the breaks as there is in all the Corn College sessions. This will be a great 2 days. If you haven't got registered yet, just go to our website at CropTech Inc. Click on the Corn Soybean College tab there, and you'll find a full agenda and you'll be able to get registered. Group registration can be done on the site as well, or you can just call the number 646-801-0591 and the girls will get you registered. Can't wait to see everyone here at the CropTech Field Day and the Corn Soybean College event. To stay up to date, check out our website at croptechinc.com and subscribe to our podcast, Boots in the Field Report. Keep her safe, keep her moving.